Thank you for joining CTV and our guest tonight. I hope everyone is well. Just as you know, we're going to do a quick report with Nicole first, Nicole Horseman, as we look at the local school boards as they are all looking at their curriculums for next September. They're looking at their sex education advisory boards, they're looking at curriculum, et cetera. And I asked Nicole to do a quick update with us. As most of you heard her in March on the sexual risk avoidance councils that have a great alternative to the MOASH curriculum that has been pushed in most of our public schools. And then we'll hear a report from Lansing from Representative Tim Kelly. And so appreciate the work he's doing in Lansing, especially on that appropriations committee with the budgets. As you know, budgets rule, and what you get paid for is what you end up with. So we want to hear on that. And then Tom McMillan is with us too from the State Board of Education. He had a busy day on the State Board of Education meeting this morning. So I'm just going to start off in prayer really quickly and then move right to Nicole. Father God, I just ask that you would be with us in this session, in this hour. I thank you, Lord, that we can talk together, that we can connect. And I ask that you would guide and lead us by your Holy Spirit in all wisdom and truth. In Jesus' name, amen. So, how about Nicole? First up, tell us what's going on that you're seeing. I'm going to
Yeah,
continue. I see a few more people being added, but go ahead, Nicole.
yeah. Thanks for having me again. So, for those of you who were not here in March, my name is Nicole Horseman. I am the chair of the Michigan SRA Council. We promote positive youth development by empowering adolescents to achieve optimal health by partnering with parents and advocating for sexual risk avoidance through education, community partnership, and public policy. So this is kind of key sex ed advisory board season. The majority of sex ed advisory boards that I work with like to meet in the spring, typically April and May. So if any of you have kids at a local district or if you're involved in a local district, I would encourage you to see if you can get information about whether or not their sex ed advisory board is active. By law, the Sex Ed Advisory Board has to reopen every 2 years or every other year to either review what's existing, and they might just choose to stick with status quo, or if they want to make any changes to sex ed, they have to reopen and do a more thorough series of meetings versus just the one-time review meeting. So this would be the time if any school districts are deciding they want to look at the new health education standards guidelines. They're probably looking at it right now. So make sure you know that. Over half of the sex ed advisory board has to be made up of parents from the district. So it is a really great opportunity for you if you want to share your voice. If they are looking for sex ed advisory board members, see if you can figure out how the application process works for your school. It kind of depends on the bylaws for your district of how they invite people or add parents in, but a really great spot for you. The other thing I wanted you to know is once the sex ed advisory board approves a curriculum or decides to make any changes to the existing curriculum, um, what has to happen is there has to be two public hearings before the school board can vote on it. And so that's another thing to look out for is those public hearings because that has to happen before changes can occur. Typically, they're going to line those public hearings up with your school board meetings. So look at your school board meeting agendas. If you see anything on there related to sex ed curriculum or the health education standards guidelines, it might be a good meeting that you want to attend. There should be an opportunity for you to share public comment so that you can share any concerns that you might have as a community member or a parent of the district.
Nicole, would those be school board meetings happening this month and next month?
Most likely. So it depends when they run their SAOB, but I'm finding a lot of the districts we work with, as they've been making decisions at the sex ed advisory level in March, April, May, then they're going to be trying to get those school board meetings in probably May, June. Some school boards meet over the summer, not every school board does, so it's going to depend on your district. Maybe they would have to do one in the fall, depending on if they can sneak two in. They don't have to do it at a school board meeting. I will mention that, but typically it's
Wow.
the most convenient for schools to just do it at a school board meeting.
Yeah, so that's really, really important to know as you all are around the state and you are in different districts, but this is the prime time and two public hearings. That's interesting. So you should be able to ask, so when are the public hearings for
Yep.
my SEAB at our public school and get a correct answer from them? That's a very easy question for them to answer.
Yep.
Yeah, really important. Any tips that you found work well when you're addressing an SEAB, Nicole?
For the SAB or for the school board, I think with the SAB, really encourage the sex ed advisory board members actually take a deep dive into the curriculum. A lot of curriculum out there, if you look at the summary, they sound great. It's not until you're actually reading the lesson plans word for word where some of the more concerning stuff might come up. So I would really say, well, can we have time as a sex ed advisory board, or have you as a sex ed advisory board really looked through the details of the lesson plans, right? Because people can say whatever they want in a summary. Again, it's not until you see the lesson plans that you might notice some stuff that you want to pay attention to.
And then the other part of that board, particularly the SEAB, Sex Education Advisory Board, they must have a majority of clergy and parents. It can't just be administrators. It
They
can't
have to
be
have, yep, they have to have one clergy per
at
state law.
least,
It
at
does
least
have to be
one.
majority parents. Yes,
Right.
majority parents on the sex advisory board.
And if they don't, is what they pass legitimate?
Great question. I would definitely take it up and bring that to the school administration, pointing out that they don't have the majority parents. It also has to do with like a quorum, right? So yeah, if technically you have to have a quorum, have to have majority parents present to be able to pass that. So if you do catch that as an issue, I would bring that up to your administration, because there should be that quorum present to make any decisions.
And Nicole, if they find that they don't like what they're seeing in terms of the curriculum, um, can they offer curriculum from your organization because it's tried and true and eligible? And how would they get that from you?
Mhm. So if you want to look at our curriculum specifically, there's not one SRA curriculum. There are several different sexual risk avoidance curriculum out there. The
Yeah,
one that my organization uses is called Willing to Wait. We have a middle school and a high school version. I will put my website in the chat in a moment so you can look that up. That is specific to kind of the West Michigan area is where my team goes in and does guest speaking. We do have opportunities to license. The other thing I'll let you know is as part of the Michigan SRA Council, there are SRA programs similar to mine across the state. So if I'm not able to do that, or if it's not kind of local in your area, I can connect people with other organizations or programs that use a similar
great.
approach to ours. And so I'll put my email in. You can also email me. Forewarning, I'm due in 2 weeks, so if you want to contact me soon because then I'm going to be out of the office for a little bit.
And if they don't get you, I know you have a great assistant as well. If you could put her name and phone number, um,
I'll put the vice chair. Yeah, I can put
or vice
Brittany, our
chair.
vice chair for
Yeah.
SRA Council. Yep.
Great. Yeah, I just know that this is a great alternative. The different SRA councils are great alternative curriculums to what Moash is offering your public school districts. And you can assure the school district people then say, "Oh, no, but have you considered this?" And it's already a tried and true curriculum. I know, I think you've been talking with Shannon Seco down in the Wayne County area. Nicole is a great resource. We always like to offer alternatives rather than just being against something, that we have something to show that is wholesome and good, and the children are still learning. So, thanks, Nicole, for being a resource, putting that in the chat room, and we can also follow up. We'll follow up with everyone on email with the right contacts as
Perfect.
well. But
Okay.
appreciate it. And we wish you well on your
Thank
delivery of your baby in 2 weeks. How
thank you.
exciting. All right. Well, I am going to go on to, I see Representative Tim Kelly is there and waiting. Hello, Representative Kelly. Thank you so much.
Hello, how are you doing this evening?
Oh, we're good. We're good. We had a little technical difficulty to start with, but we're doing good.
Good.
For all on the call, I so appreciate Representative Kelly. He has spoken at other events with us up in the Saginaw area, and he is hard at work as the chair of the subcommittee on school aid and the Department of Education. So he has had a firsthand look at everything as well as being able to um, run the direction of the committee as to what should be funded within the Department of Education. So I'm going to just let you take it from there.
Well, thank you. First of all, just to follow up a bit on what Nicole just said, in our boilerplate in the budget that we passed a couple weeks ago, the House budget on school aid explicitly prohibits spending money on MOASH. So we're going to try and do what we can to kill this illicit relationship and do what we can to clean up things within the department, at least along those lines. Also, just wanted to share with you, I think our biggest highlights probably of the budget are again restoring kind of parity between, we hate to see people ding because of the choices that they make, choices the schools they make, whether it's traditional uh, public, charter public, or cyber public schools. The Democrats always like to ding the cybers. They want to do, cut 20% from the foundation allowance. As I've maintained, this is my second tour in the legislature. This parity is the biggest part of what I try and fight for. A kid is a kid is a kid, as I've always say, and the money follows the child. So we think that it ought to be, regardless of where the kid decides to go to school, he should be fully, he or she should be fully funded.
Yeah.
With that, we didn't enjoin the governor on her weighted formula just yet. I think it's yet to be um, a case made for what this is, this weighted formula. Uh, we've been putting more money into at risk and English as a second language, those kinds of things. But what this does is it really trips us into or into a 15-year budget with this weighted formula. That's really the goal is to get, and if you see the numbers, they really want to get to $30 billion school aid as fast as possible. And
What are they at right now?
22, I think
22.
the budget we passed was a little over 21 or
Okay.
20,
And
20 and a
that's
half.
a huge increase even from the last, 6
It's two,
years, right?
yes. So our foundation allowance that we passed in the House, everybody, the governor, the Senate, same thing, is a $250 bump. So you would go from 10, uh, I believe it's 1025 to 10,300.
Yeah. And I don't know if everyone here knows what a weighted, I forget what you said, a weighted
A weighted formula. And what it
formula.
is trying to get more, at-risk funds are money to try and help out the low-income kids, lowest performing kids, and to try and bring them up to, par. The reality is we've been spending more and more on these at-risk kids. But what this is it's like a guaranteed of yearly increases to the tune of where you're basically budgeting, trying to budget a 15-year process, and
Ah,
that's just not. So it puts you on a schedule to get to 30 billion by 2030.
okay. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to hear and read that line item that you line itemed out, which means it was specifically written that Moash may not receive state funds. And shout out to all you on the Zoom and elsewhere. that started rising to everyone's attention last November, right? Chairman Kelly, and I so appreciate you listening. It's great for us to say, hey, your voice is being heard, and to have a representative actually do something about it.
Well, I'll
And
tell you, thank you with that, but I'll tell you that they're very surreptitious about this. If 6 months ago, you could go on the MDE's website and type in LGBTQ education project and it would pop up. You can't find it now. So it's kind of hidden in Moash.
yeah,
There's some other things that they do. It's like that we're trying to do what we can to clean up DEI and that sort of thing, whether it's in higher ed or anywhere. And what they've done, they haven't changed anything. They just push it underground. They go by different names. So they're still trying to do all this. And it's like whack-a-mole. You constantly have to be vigilant about what's going on.
yeah. Well, thank you. At least we know you're whacking them all. It's a great it's a great thing to know,
Yeah.
because that's not always been the case, where people have not taken the time, or actually, like you said, they just didn't see it.
Yeah.
And myself being one, others knew about this way well before me, but I was appalled when I started seeing all the numbers, and going to an NGO, basically,
Yeah.
a
No.
non-governmental.
That's exactly what it is. And this explosion of the money, certainly under the Democrat trifecta, the money that was going to NGOs has just exploded over the last few years. And these are the real problem makers because they're the ones that are influencing all the state agencies.
Yeah, yeah. Does anyone have any questions for Representative Kelly? We have time for a few questions. If you do, just let me know, put your hand up, and I can unmute you. You have a great opportunity to add some insight, and add any questions for Representative Kelly. At least I think I can see your hands.
So as we go forward, we're going to, continue. Targets are coming. I think that their principals are going to be meeting about frameworks for negotiation. So we should be getting into a meeting with my counterpart in the Senate, Senator Camilleri, probably within the next couple of weeks,
Okay.
in
Um,
anticipation of getting this budget out by July 1.
we do have a question from Bill Rowerdink. What is being done to address the massive failures in some districts, example of Flint? Continuing to fund failure seems like a losing idea. Um, uh,
Well, that could be our entire budget. I mean, if you want to be cynical about it, we're spending 22, billion-dollars a year and getting less for it. I
yeah,
left the legislature in 18. The budget was about 15 billion, the school aid budget, and it's grown $1 billion a year since I've been gone. And I can guarantee you, we haven't gotten $7 billion worth of improvement.
well, and we're 44th in the nation
Yeah,
for
we can
for
continue to
literacy.
fall further behind.
Um, Keith Lubbers, I apologize. I've been saying MOASH, and I didn't say what the acronym meant. It's the Michigan Organization of Adolescent Sexual Health, MOASH. And
Yes,
they have been an organization in Michigan many, many years,
yes,
actually, getting funding. A lot of their funding does come through the federal government, and it passes through the state government, and other dollars are direct from the state government. So we've been on a hunt to discover where these dollars are, because they are pushing an agenda that is not every parent's agenda at all, and shouldn't be in our public schools.
yeah,
Parents decide what kids, what kind of it's really a religion of its own. So and that belongs to parents, not school teachers, when we need kids to learn how to read and do math. So
yes.
um, anyone else, any other questions? Thank you for writing that in the chat. If I get any others, Tim, I'll
Just please pass them along.
pass them.
I think I find these valuable to work with you. It's, Citizens for Traditional Values is an excellent organization and one that I've very supportive of and will continue to work with you. So please have me on again.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. We appreciate you. And I know that you have something to get to, but we can pass along questions to you. Or if you have time to stay on, we welcome you to stay on and hear what Tom McMillan went through on the State Board of Education today.
Tom has to put up with an awful lot. I give him props for the courage that he sits there month after month to listen to the swill that he has to, and and does his best. He and Nikki Snyder both trying to carry the water for conservatives. So my hat's off to Tom. He's it's got to be difficult to do that.
Yeah, today was a busy day. I even got a chance to weigh in on the phone anyway, but Tom, take it away. And we encourage everyone again that you sign up for their notices on their meetings. It's once a month, I believe, correct, Tom, that your board
Yeah.
meets in Lansing. And actually, the same days we have these Zoom meetings. And I know a few of you are attend the meetings or listen online, and it's really important that we do that. We continue to make them accountable. And remember, in November we have to send two more people to join Tom and Nikki Snyder on that board.
Right.
But thanks for joining us, Tom.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Eileen and Amy, and yeah, Tim's doing a great job there. I'm thankful that we still have a majority in the House, and I think they've done a lot. Considering that the governor in the Senate is Democrat, they've done a lot in the last year, and I think they're going to do good work this year. Yeah. I mean, the state board, we met today. Once a month we meet. There's 6 Democrats, 2 Republicans. And the thing we did today that was kind of noteworthy is that the Dems put up a resolution that was trying to get the governor to not approve this education freedom tax credit that was in the big beautiful bill. A state opts in by their governor. I think also legislatures can. I think in Kentucky they did, or they overrode the governor's decision. But mainly it's the governor that decides. Right now, about 28 governors, mainly Republicans, have opted in, but there have been New York and Colorado. Colorado's Democrat governor said this is a no-brainer. It's a where people can get a $1,700 tax credit, not a deduction, but a direct credit. So if you owe 10 grand, you give a $1,700 to a what's it called, a scholarship granting organization, an SGO. It's a nonprofit that gives out grants, scholarships to students. You get, if you owed 10 grand, now you owe 8,300 if you gave that 1,700. It's a direct one-for-one credit. This money, the estimates are that we would lose $350 to $550 million students would be losing if we don't opt in. That you can use that money for all kinds of things like what are some of those things that like professional tutoring, special ed services, counseling, computers, internet access. You can also use it for private schools. So these are credits or scholarships that are given. And so, the states that actually 3 of them opted out not to do it, Democrat states, not Colorado, Oregon, New Mexico, and one other, they have Hawaii, they've decided to reconsider because they're like, why would we, in Michigan, you could give this credit and get this $1,700 credit by giving the money to an SGO in Ohio or Indiana. So, a lot of these states are saying, even the Dems who approve or who decided not to opt in are saying, wait a minute, I'm getting a lot of criticism because people in my state are giving money to other states for their kids, and we're losing that in our own state. So at any rate, the Dems, had all kind of lies in their resolution, and they voted to urge the governor to opt out, to not opt in. Nikki and I obviously voted against the resolution. We support opting in. But yeah,
And
that
I
was,
had the Tom, I had the opportunity to call in because what's really disturbing and that you
Kind
all
of
will
looks like a
hear.
clown, doesn't he? Especially when he waves.
I'm sorry, I don't know who that was,
oh,
but
that's Opsimer. Oh, no, oh, maybe
oh,
not.
Paul. Okay. What they're calling this tax credit that actually grants money to parents. They're calling it a voucher, and that's an outright lie. So the
Right.
language that you are hearing over the airwaves that the MEA and frankly the other Democrats who are supporting this are pushing that it's a voucher, and it couldn't be farther from the truth. It is not a voucher. It's like your child anywhere, applying for a grant from some organization that gives them money to pay for tutoring. It gives them
Yeah.
money to, if you're homeschooling, it gives you money to pay for curriculum materials. If you're a public school parent, you can pay for, school materials that your kids needs, or if you're a public school teacher, or if you're a private school teacher. So it is truly equal opportunity for every parent. And the fact that the MEA pushed this resolution, calling it a voucher, is furious to me. I'm a little
Yeah.
excited. I just get really
Right.
upset at that because it's not. And,
Yeah.
let's call a spade a spade.
Yep. And so yeah, that was one thing that happened today. And I guess since we met last month, the Democrats held their convention, and two of the Democrat members on the state board, Judy Pritchett and Tiffany Tilley, got renominated to serve to run for another 8 years. So these, I really think that the people on the call, and we can really look at their voting record. Nikki and I have forced a lot of votes. As far as they've supported the videos that MDE put out that instructs teachers how to lie to parents at parent-teacher conferences, and materials that are going home to make sure that if Bobby is being called Susie at school, that whenever they're talking to the parents, they make sure they call him Bobby, even though the school is calling him Susie and letting him go to the girls' bathroom. That how to hide this from parents,
Yeah,
which we know is that the Supreme Court's actually just recently weighed in and said they're
right,
not allowed to do that. But so these two supported that. They supported the outrageous sex ed standards. There's all kinds of other standards that they've supported as well, that has transgender in the pre-K standards for pre-K kids. I mean, just all kinds of things that I think, they're going to be susceptible. And, if we could get two Republicans in, that would be a 4-4 split, and we could really block anything at
right,
that point.
right.
So, I think between now and November, there's a real opportunity. We got two good candidates running as well on the Republican side. The other thing that we talked about today, the president is appointing a special ed committee. Nikki and I have talked about special ed for years and years. The Democrats really haven't done much in this area. So it's a bipartisan. I'm going to be on the committee with three Democrats. We're going to go around the state listening to issues so if there's, special ed students and parents that have special ed students, and if you have problems at your local level or the appeals process, be ready to, this committee is forming and going to really, I think, be very active in that area. When I was in the legislature, I actually held a hearing for parents with special ed kids, and it was a lot of people came, and they just wanted to be heard initially. But I'd like to see some really good things happen at the local levels, and we're going to be doing hearings about that. We are seeing, as the earlier person mentioned, the battles at the local level with the sex ed, with these new standards that came out. Those are starting to heat up, and I think Macomb County had some issues last night at one of the school boards. And so, as I think I've indicated, I'm more on defense. Even if we had the majority, and when I was in the legislature, I prefer local control, and a top down is just not. I think the best decisions are at the local level with the parents, the teachers, and so I really am glad when I can report not much happened at the state board, because really it's usually not any. It's very rarely is it any good, and really the local level is where things should be decided anyway. And then also I wanted to remind everybody of that federal investigation. The Department of Justice is out there in Michigan. And so if there's anything going on in the area of sexual orientation and gender identity where they're hiding this from parents or there's materials that you're not getting the opportunity to opt out, that they want to hear from you. They want to hear about that. I think her name is Harmeet as the attorney that's
Yeah,
with the,
I think Harmeet Dillon.
yeah,
Um, and we have put it in email and on chat before. Salt and Lake Global through Katie Boussard is gathering your stories. And we will send an email with that link again because as you have specific stories of things you know that are absolutely happening in your school district that are violating Title IX and the federal executive orders, that gives them ammunition, and they already are targeting Michigan anyway. There's especially 3 different districts that are doing some egregious things that they're looking at. So we have an opportunity, and I will put that in an email tomorrow. Salt and Light Global, and there's a link that you can share your story if you have one in your particular school district. So kind of a two-pronged approach, both locally talking to your board members and letting them know. And if you don't see any changes, you don't get any response, know that you should share it with the Department of Justice because we are a nation of law and we're supposed to be following the law.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
So, I mean,
right.
that's pretty much it. I'm willing to answer any questions or we meet monthly, so we'll meet next month.
Yeah, Bill has a question for you, or a statement in question. He says special ed seems to be the flavor of the era rather than special ed for gifted students. Can that change?
Yeah. I mean, yes, I mean, they're trying to, you know, yes, I mean, I think it certainly should. There has been a lot of defunding of gifted students programs, and we've seen that. And you're right, Bill. I mean, those areas are for the most part, the legislature funds. We don't have any funding abilities, but it is a shame at the local levels. I know that people have duked it out in Troy and other districts where, yeah, they're removing or reducing their gifted students, the funding and the classes. And, certainly the focus can be on kids that are, having difficulties in special ed. I do think that that is an area that education can be focused can work on for sure.
Yeah.
But I also think that these EFTC, the tax credits that we talked about, those scholarships could go to help special ed kids as well. And I really think that with counseling
Yeah.
or anything else. So and gifted students as well. I mean, it certainly could be used for them also, that credit.
Right. So think about that. You can apply to a granting organization in Michigan. And, Ellis, you're talking about, if you're doing an academy and you're looking for some funding, or you have a gifted student, you have to buy special curriculum, or you need a special tutor, to meet their needs, you can use those funds. And I sure hate Michigan to lose out on those dollars, and instead they get sent to other states all around us who have already opted in. And in fact,
Right.
New York just opted in. And if the New York governor can opt in to the federal tax credits,
Right.
I cannot understand why our governor would have any hesitation. So we still have hope.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Uh, Yeah, yeah. Especially, you're right, Bill. Parents will continue to flee the public schools. That's what they're dealing with. They are losing students if their special ed child is ignored on either end of the spectrum. If they're ignored, they've got to, you're a parent. You care about how is your child learning. Absolutely.
And
Does
I
any?
saw Ellis Smith had a question about working on a biblical worldview academy, startup funding. There is a group or there's a podcast with Carrie McDonald, Liberated podcast, and she talks a lot about different startup for alternative schools or alternatives to public schooling and funding that's available. So you might want to check that out. I don't know anything from the state though.
Yeah. Ellis, I unmuted you. If you have um, anything else you were wondering, I want to let the group know Pastor Apostle Ellis Smith is one of my heroes. Um, he is, he knows that the church has a voice in all this. And Pastor Apostle Smith, share some of the things that you have been involved in the Detroit area and across the state.
Sure. Well, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. This is very enlightening, and it's really blessing my heart to hear some of the things that are happening. And it rises my faith in knowing that we've got some challenges still to face. But my background has been with public education. I adopted a lot of public schools in Detroit back in the 1980s, got really involved in education. I served with John Engler on his kitchen cabinet, and when he wanted to develop charter schools in Michigan. And he asked me if I would start one, come walking out of his office one day, and my response was probably not, but eventually I did. I opened up Colin Powell Academy, became one of the premier charter schools in the country, and I got the very first QZAB in the state of Michigan. No one knew what a QZAB was. Mark Murray was our state treasurer. He didn't know what it was. Art Ellis was our superintendent of education for the state. He didn't know what it was. So I began to feed them information. It was a special line item on the 1997 federal tax relief bill called Qualified Zone Academy Bond. And it was like Congress wrote that for me, because we got the very first one, and there were 4 qualifications you had to have, and I met all 4 of them. So they surrounded the policy, the state board as well as the state house, to fit what I needed. And we got the Qualified Zone Academy Bond. I believe it was in 1999. It was the very first one. Last time I talked to someone at the state treasurer's office, this was about several years ago, no one had done a QZAB since then. But my point, and I got very involved in charter schools, became a spokesperson for charter schools. MAPSA honored me with the Charter School Leader of the Year, I want to say in 1998, 1999. And that's all good stuff. But really, I believe the epic battle in education is to raise up children with a first-class education centered around biblical worldview.
Yeah.
This is just my opinion. That is the epic battle of the last days. There's nothing even close. What they're being indoctrinated with public education in our country, the socialism ideology, the secular humanist ideology, we got to give them a biblical worldview and to indoctrinate them with how God sees culture, how God sees life, how God sees education. And so I've been working with a team who are all working in public education, like assistant superintendents, special ed directors. I mean, they're all working throughout our state, and they're on my team. These are top-notch people in our state, and we've put together a program that we're going to be taking to Washington pretty soon. That is we believe, a game changer for education, not just for Michigan, but for America. It's a biblical worldview academy, and we're pretty much done with the document. And it's going to explains everything from curriculum, culture, philosophy, mission, vision. All of it's in there. And this, I believe, is going to be a standard bearer. When we did Colin Powell Academy in 1996, when we opened up, the first book written about charter schools in America was called Charter Schools in Action. And they highlighted us a lot in that book. It was published by Princeton University Press. It was the first book written by high-level educators, assistant educators, what I call it, on the Department of Education. I forgot what their title was, but these guys were the authors of the book. Anyway.
So Ellis, how does Michigan incorporate that to get around the Blaine Amendment that keeps our public schools, it's kind of like no man's land when the minute you bring up biblical,
I know.
it's not allowed. So how can we incorporate? I get what you're saying is that we need the biblical worldview principles at minimum being taught in our schools, even if we can't have outright biblical worldview curriculum as from a Christian worldview. How do we work around that in our Michigan public schools?
It is a challenge. I was a founding board member also for Cornerstone Schools in Detroit, served on the board for 10 years, and they shifted from a Christ-centered school to a charter school for that reason, because of the funding aspect,
Yeah,
and the other reasons also. But the reality is that is a challenge,
yeah,
and we're trying to get over that hurdle. And part of it, how that can be done, is put the right people that are open to this in our state, represent House of Representatives, the state Senate, and the Board of Education.
right.
That would help move that process along. But as we all well know, that is a challenge. But I'm thankful to God for the people that we have there on the state board, as well as in the House. But the reality is that that is a challenge.
Yeah.
And we're looking to work around that in any way that we can. That's why I brought it up. I'm open to any ideas or input anyone may have that can help along the line there. I am talking to people in Washington, and we are have some others who have worked with us in the past and things we've done that get us to the right voices in Washington, D.C. In the Trump administration. We are working on that as we speak.
Are there any, Gary brought up a good question, what would help our textbooks for history? As he looked at one of the books in his district, it indoctrinates and does not present what's true. So I don't know if there's textbooks that our parents can present, as an idea, that as you're working on curriculum that would present, our history, the truth
Yes, there
of
are
our history.
textbooks out there like that. I've had conversations with David Barton.
And how do we
As
get our hands on them? How is he distributing them? How would if Gary wanted to take it to his district, how would he do that?
Get in touch with David Barton. He's doing some of that, as well as
Yeah.
I, I've been in text exchanges with George Barna, and
Oh,
out of Arizona Christian University. He's working on some things along those lines, and
yeah.
he's going to be an advisor for us and helping
Great.
us with this project.
Great. That's awesome. Both just awesome men who proven track record. David Barton's materials. If any of you don't know David Barton, just look him up, and anything he's written is just excellent and
Amazing,
gives
amazing.
our country's history so accurately and so well. Um, Thank you, Ellis. And I don't know if anyone has anything they want to share right now. We have just a couple minutes, and still, I saw Monica Radico in Macomb County. And Monica, you have been doing a lot I don't know if you can share anything
Hi,
right
I'm
now,
here.
but hi, hi there.
Yeah, so we actually, I think I haven't been on for a minute because we were hiring a new superintendent. So we had a lot of meetings the last couple of months. But the last time I was on, we were talking about our SEAB board and violations. So they did correct two of those. They brought it to a meeting. We had to approve the co-chairs, and then we also approved the bylaws because they were not approved since 2012. So
Wow.
no record of the board ever approving those. So stay on top of your SEAB boards and make sure that they're in compliance. Last night, well, we had a social media post from a employee that has kind of gone viral. Not sure if everyone has seen it, but it was not appropriate for what a school official should be posting. And so we had a pretty heated meeting last night, but I'm trying
Thank
to
you.
do what I can.
That's no, Monica, that's great. We need to hear these stories because you're in the Chippewa schools, Monica, I think.
Yeah, Chippewa Valley. We're in Clinton Township and Macomb Township.
Yeah. And she and Robert have been doing just stupendous work in asking the right questions. It does make a difference. They've gotten two things changed. And that's why I wanted to thank you for sharing, Monica, because people need to hear like it does work. And your school boards are made up of other parents like yourself. So it's not like these people on high who are, given a crown to be king and queen. These are, several of them are your neighbors. Some of them you know well, some you don't, but get to know them. Because I think if we have relationships first, it opens a door then for them to hear you when you do start asking questions. Um, and of course, we're always gonna, Citizens for Traditional Values, we're in high election season. I just want to throw this in there because we're in the midst of doing candidate endorsements. Um, some for the primary. We will be doing them all for the general. And look for that. And we've actually partnered with another group called iVoter Guide. Will be able to also share our endorsements, which is great. And I have a question to you all. They are asking me, we aren't able, um, I don't have enough people to research all the different school districts. So if you have a school district in particular that has been egregiously acting and hey, we got to get those two spots filled with people who are good people, let us know. And iVoter Guide also wants to know what school districts should they highlight for people to know when the general election comes around, and I don't know, Chippewa Valley might be one. There might be the Wayne County schools, there might be some of the Kent County schools. It can be anywhere, but shoot me an email and say, hey, we've got two candidates that are really good. They're running for these boards. Some of these boards really need to change. And let's have that conversation. We can't do it all over the state, but one by one, we can do something. And
Yeah.
your local county parties should be absolutely engaged with their local school boards and knowing who's running or who do we need to recruit. July 16th is the deadline to file. It's fairly easy to file. Tom, am I right in that? I think it's July 16th,
Well,
right?
it might be July 21st. I was just looking that up. 4 o'clock, July 21st, I think. But yeah, I
Okay.
mean, we need to get candidates running. I mean, and it's not that difficult if you get on the boards. I mean, it can be a challenge, but I think these elected officials, they try to make it look really difficult so nobody runs against them. So if you have common sense and a backbone, I think that's like 90% of what you need on a lot of these. So yeah, run for office.
Yes, we need
School
you.
board, yeah.
And keep us posted and we can let other people know. Because you need a team around you in your area. And if you can't run, find somebody, recruit someone and say, hey, I'll be your person. Me and these
Right.
three people will be your people. So no one feels alone. And Citizens for Traditional Values is probably going to offer a school board training after that filing deadline, July 21st. Thank you, Gary. And Gary said it's 6 signatures. I think anyone knows 6 people. We're going to probably host a school board campaign training at the end of July. So we want to be a resource and encourage you to stay with it and keep thinking of people. We've got time, thankfully, and we can do it. It's one by one, and
Yeah.
it's good. Well, I am running into almost 8 o'clock unless somebody, oh, sorry, someone asked, does David Barton have elementary and middle school curriculum? I believe he does.
I think so.
Uh, Go on his website. I believe he does. So check that out. And Wall Builders, thank you. Susan wrote wallbuilders.com is his website. It's in the chat. And we'll include that as well in our email. So thank you. Thank you, Susan. Unless anyone else has something urgent, I'm going to let y'all go. It is a Tuesday night, and I'm a mom, and I got to run to my son's orchestra concert. So I'm going to let y'all go. And thanks for joining us. And we do have one more meeting in June and potentially all summer. If you all stay active and want to continue to meet once a month through the summer, we absolutely are willing to. It's going to be a busy summer, and lots of candidates are out there needing your help, and those running for state house, state senate, and the statewide candidates keep posted. Oh, one last thing, join us on Saturday, May 16th, this Saturday. If you are in the Lansing area at all, or you're coming through it, we are hosting a governor candidate forum with four confirmed governor candidates, including Mike Cox, John James, Eric Nesbitt, and Ralph Rebant. And we are going to ask questions about their philosophy and thinking and goals for education, their feelings about abortion, their questions are not getting asked at a lot of these forums that we want to know about, and what their perspective is. And I think it will be a great forum. So please join us. It's at Mount Hope Church, 1 o'clock to 2:30, 1 to 2:30. If you come early at noon, Mount Hope Church will give you lunch at noon. But I will post that. If you haven't seen it, we've been blasting it around, but we'll post it in an email tomorrow as well. I think that's it. Thank you, everyone.